The hardest thing I have ever done in my business is learning to be okay not driving the bus.
Welcome to the Damn Good Designer podcast. Join hosts Cheryl and Liz, the visionary and integrator balancing all the moving parts of a full-service interior design firm. Get ready for a wild ride as they challenge the norms, challenge the industry, and challenge you with damn good truths about what success looks like today. Now your hosts.
Welcome, everyone. So excited to be here today to talk about a much requested subject. What in the heck do we do every day? I think sometimes a lot of my friends wonder about this. I think sometimes my husband wonders about this. And we are going to bring you the visionary and integrator live from the Liz and Cheryl reality today. So the truth is, we just look at fabrics and pretty pictures of rooms every day, right, Liz? And do the lunching out thing. Not.
I wish.
No, not. I've always wanted to say that, just to say that that's what we do. But actually, we don't do that. But more so, we want to talk about the roles Liz and I have in the business and how we make it work, because we really do get asked this a ton by coaching clients, and also just in general, it's been a really hot topic of how we make it work with a visionary and integrator, and just specifically what we do. We are very much a visionary and integrator, but we modified it. It's modified a little bit from what the typical definitions are. Not everything that I do or Liz does falls exactly into those categories, but I'll tell you the truth. This is a little bit of a tiny damn good truth at the front here. I remember very distinctly, y'all, at some point after Liz was fully into her role, wanting to sit down and cry. And you're thinking, why? Because you have this fabulous unicorn of a person. Why would you want to do that? It's because until Liz came along, I never had anyone who really understood not just me and my crazy personality, but also the day-to-day issues of running a business with a team, and was able to really, just understand the ups, the downs, the dealing with not only employees and the rest of the team and the frustrations that came along with that, but also the subs and the contractors too. It was this big kind of validation in my business. You know, I felt like, oh my God, I'm actually not crazy after all. I am not crazy because I have this really normal unicorn of a person who is actually validating and understood it, that the frustrations, and she saw it and got it, and really it was pretty amazing.
I remember very vividly too when Cheryl approached me about talking about this book and about this whole idea of the integrator and the visionary, and I think it definitely helped solidify how I looked at what my contribution needed to be, but also how to best use my effort and my energy to be able to really get to what it is that she needed to have done every day. So it definitely was a game changer, I think, in how our dynamic worked in the workplace, but also very much in just sort of understanding that we were both in the boat together, which obviously some days it feels like that's all you need to be able to get through.
Yeah, that's one of the things we like to say too, is to people that work with us, like we need you to be in the boat with us. We really need to be paddling in the same direction, and we just need to feel sometimes like you're in the boat with us, right? I mean, I think I've done a couple of little quippy things about that too that I'll have to dig out and find, but that is really it. Making sure that people understand that you're in that they need to be in that boat with us. So the first thing I would say to do is buy the book Rocket Fuel, and I've got it right here, but you can't see it because we're on a podcast, not a video. But it's got an orange cover on it, orange and white. It's by Gino Wickman, and it is a great book. It's a very easy read too, and it talks all about visionaries and integrators. And they both need each other. I'm definitely a visionary. Probably like many of you listening, that's probably the case. But I also have some integrator characteristics, which can sometimes make for a little bit of a dynamic, but we're going to talk about all that and explain it. But at the time when Liz came into my life, I desperately needed an integrator. And, it's nirvana now. This is like probably the best thing that's ever happened in my business, honestly. But I needed it probably even before then, but I kept, because the frustration level and all those things. And we'll kind of talk about, what it is that that makes you think that you need one now or whatever. It's different than just needing an assistant. And it's also comes with a lot of responsibility on your end to be able to release some control. We like to term it more of a get it done person, the orchestrator of the symphony. I'm more of the visionary that wants to not only conduct the symphony, but also count the proceeds from the gate too. Now, sometimes when you read Rocket Fuel, it will talk about the fact that a lot of times integrators are also dealing with the business end and the day-to-day business, but that's strictly me. I do all of that. So that's where my integrator personality comes out. Yeah, Liz is not. Liz is not like that. Yeah, no, and she does invoices and things like that and all that sort of thing. And she, reads the reports I give her and all that. And she always acts like it's like some miracle magic thing, these QuickBook reports.
I know, I love them.
But overall, I'm doing that part of it. And if you're looking for an integrator and you are a visionary, then when you read this book, it will be an incredible eye-opening experience for you. It'll help define what you're looking for. But just remember, it doesn't have to be textbook, because then you might just sit there and not look for this person. You've got to take sometimes most of the qualities that you need and look for, and then really apply to the people that you're talking to about doing that. And you have to be really careful, because you might drive each other nuts.
Well, what's I think hilarious about this all too is that obviously we didn't plan for this dynamic. It's not like Cheryl put some little unicorn post out into the world and all of a sudden I came calling to be her integrator. But it definitely
was a Craigslist ad, y'all. It was a Craigslist ad. Do you remember that, Liz?
Yeah,
it was a Craigslist ad.
I do. I remember. But I think that in the beginning, I wasn't quite sure how I fit into the company or how the long-term trajectory of my professional career was going to take hold in this company. I just knew that there were things that seemed to be opportunities for me to kind of dig my heels in a little bit and really learn about. And what really was beneficial to me is that for as challenging as it was in certain instances, as I grew, being able to understand that I could really put kind of my can do, figure it out attitude and that sort of learning capacity into something that was more productive for us as a whole, it really helped me feel validated in what I was doing. And then it only helped to kind of grow the type of things that I wanted to do, the ways that I wanted to be a partner to Cheryl, and how we sort of handled certain things with some of the team. It definitely, I can think of many, many times when we had new hires that weren't working out, where it was really challenging. But being able to kind of sit there and think about it and figure out what the next strategy was going to be made so much more sense to me, knowing where her role was and where mine was.
Yeah, and defining the roles is important, throughout the entire company, not depending on how large or small you may be. Even if you have one assistant, defining their role is really, really important. And integrators are often sort of perfectionists, but responsible perfectionists. They believe their own self-worth relies on them doing good things. They are responsible about their commitments. And that's one of the things that really was important to me about Liz, is that she followed through. And if she said she was going to do something, she would do it. Maybe sometimes not always exactly when she said she would do it.
Sometimes, for me to learn. Still is.
Yes, that's been one of the things, is not to overpromise, but she would get it done, and that's the truth. And they feel good when they're accomplishing tasks, but they have to be to their high standard. So sometimes it's a little hard for them to delegate. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite things I ever did was I asked Jonathan Adler after some thing I was listening to him speak, and I said, I introduced myself to him, and he had been talking about delegation. So I said, I need you to tell Liz this. And so I've got it on my YouTube channel that says, Liz, you need to delegate. Delegate, you need to delegate, Liz. And I loved that so much because it was so true. And I play it to her every now and again when I feel like, she's like, oh, I can just do that myself. No, Liz. The whole idea is you have to delegate. And I'm a great delegator. I delegate the living crap out of everything. But these people are also very loyal. That's a good integrator. And they have a sense of duty and a moral compass and that sort of thing. So do you need a person like this? Heck yeah. Most of you are probably salivating at this and going, yes, that's exactly what I need. And I think you need one if you're running a firm of any size, and if you're not one yourself. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like $500,000 in revenue, and you're in desperate need of this this person to help you grow to $1 million. When you get to a certain level, you really need to be able to do it. But these people are expensive. You're going to have to pay these people well, because a really good integrator is going to change your life. So sometimes people ask me, how do I know if I'm an integrator or a visionary or whatever? Well, if you get the book, it's gonna help you with that a lot. As a matter of fact, I think the first time I read it, Liz, didn't I either text you pictures of it, or I don't remember, because I have the book right now with me.
Big chunks of paragraphs with every, how your teacher in high school says, don't underline the whole paragraph, just highlight a few key words so you can skim back through it. This was paragraph after paragraph, line itemed with details in the columns.
Yeah, I wish that I had. It
was a moment.
Yeah, I wish I had, marked all those so I could read them to you guys. But I do have one that I can read. This was the visionary challenges. Here's what you aren't. And then this is one of the things I thought was hysterical. Staying focused. For one, you get bored easily. Hello? As a result, you start creating a little chaos just to spice things up a bit. That pattern shows up even more whenever you step into the integrator role. So that is when you get out of your lane and you get into your integrator's lane, and here's the thing it said, it talks about that, that a lot of times with your team, they go along with your ideas, and they're excited, and they get this whiplash effect because they're following you, and they're like, yeah. And then Liz is back over there going, whoa, we have this job and that job, and we need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And Cheryl, really? We're going to start a podcast? I will tell you guys the truth. When I came in and I told Libby and Liz, who were at that time we were all in the same little office upstairs, and I said, I want to do a podcast. They looked at me with murder in their eyes. I am not kidding you. I mean, do you remember that? You and Libby both. And I felt so, I was so excited. I'm going to do a podcast. We're going to do this. This is going to be awesome. And they looked at me like I was, had lost every bit of sense that I ever had. And I really had to kind of talk you guys into it, don't you think? I mean,
it was not probably one of my finer moments professionally, because I do try to be positive in a lot of ways. But I think that, it's just a dynamic of, feeling the weight of your to-do list, and then thinking to yourself, how is it possible that, I don't even know how to do that. How do you even do a podcast? What do you think of? I don't even know if I have anything to say. I've got so many things I got to say to subs and to clients and to our team. How am I going to have time for that too? But I think that, just like Cheryl is saying, there's a certain amount of being able to kind of see past that. Once you understand kind of where you fit into the dynamic, being able to really look at that and say, you know what, I need to tone back my response and really think about this, because again, those different contributions in a company make so much of a difference in the broader potential that a company can have. So to be able to really hone in on that and try to foster it is so much more beneficial than to squash it and to feel like, oh, this is too much, it's too overwhelming, we just need to stay in our lane and keep doing the things that we're doing.
Right. And at least I follow up with my ideas generally will come to fruition, and I will work on them. But this whole concept of whiplash that they talk about in Rocket Fuel is really about chasing a lot of different squirrels and going, after this one, then after this one. And what happens is that then the continuity of the company, you lose consistency because everyone's following you, because you're the leader. That's one of the traits of a good visionary. And so everybody's like, okay, yeah, Cheryl said we're doing a podcast, so now I'm researching this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and whatever. And so a good shout out for Tracy DeForge, because I found her, so I'll give her a little plug here, and she has made this so effortless. So I'm just going to put that in there as a shout out to her, because her and her team and the producer and Russ and Tammy, everybody has been really great on their team. So that has made it a lot easier. And that's actually what I said to you guys. Remember, Liz? Yeah. I said, no, wait. Now, we have somebody that's going to do this for us, okay? So this is not so crazy, because we're doing this the right way, Liz. This is not us trying to do this at midnight or whatever, or trying to fit it into our, my marketing days, which are, like I've said before, at 2 a.m. So anyway, going back to this, the integrators are good. They're operational planners, they're organizers, they're administrators. They really can take something and just get it done. That's kind of how I like to look at it. And maybe not every delegator is like that, but that's certainly the way Liz is. And again, they're not great delegators. They are, their expectations of themselves are very high. And that's the case with visionaries, generally speaking, too. But visionaries tend to be able to delegate a little bit more more if you are really mindful of it. But they come around to understanding the need and the value of delegation if you can illustrate the benefits to the overall get it done concept. It just takes a little bit of time, I think. I think integrators can also be very impatient when someone doesn't think ahead or do a task in the right way, and then others pick up on this. Liz is super great with the team, and she can say something one way and it comes across like everybody's going, yeah, that's great, and then I say it and then it comes across completely different. It's just our personalities are different in that regard, and I really respect how she's able to handle the team in that sort of idea. And the benefits of an integrated personality far outweighs the downsides, for sure. But it's something to be aware of, as other team members can be left feeling out of the loop sometimes if you are giving all that responsibility to this person and they can't feel like they can live up. And I think that, again, Liz has done a really good job of being able to balance all of that.
Well, I think too, thinking about this and kind of reflecting on, how long it has been, I've been with Cheryl for 8 years, and I think that I was very young when I first came to her company. I had worked for a lot of other small businesses that were creative in different ways and had worked with clients in a lot of different ways. But this was all very new to me. So the more responsibility that I had and the more that she kind of brought me into the fold, the more that I started to feel like, these are the ways that I can help to grow this role for myself, obviously, but also the ways that I can see my skill set being able to cater to some of this. Now, it wasn't always smooth, and there's even still instances where I have bad habits that show up that really I wish, didn't. But in the grand scheme of things, being able to kind of reel back to that and remember that some of those dynamics are the parts and pieces that make us successful overall are helpful, but it's having that sense of responsibility to someone else, and also being able to call each other out a little bit when you need it is a huge, was professionally for me, was a huge game changer. It made me feel a lot different about the role that I had and what I was capable of doing in the company and for the company.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to empower your integrator, this person that is taking over a lot. You have to be able to empower them to argue with you, for sure. And Liz and I have great respect for each other in that regard. And sometimes I'm not sure if the team can always understand that. If somebody new sees us bickering, like, the work wife and that sort of thing that people joke about, it's true, but we have that respect for each other that surpasses all of that. And I think once you build that relationship, then you can take care of anything with that. And sometimes both of us are a little stubborn. Both of us are a little stubborn. So sometimes we have to go and sit with it a little bit and say, okay, all right, well, maybe I didn't handle that as well as I should, or maybe you're right about this, or like today when I sent Liz something and said, wait a minute, we had that meeting on Thursday or Friday and they hadn't paid yet. The guy just says, I'm dropping in a check, in New Orleans. And I'm like, what happened there? And that's not our process and that's not our protocol, but Liz knows that she can get away with a certain amount of things if she feels like it's something important. In this case, he was dropping it off at the shop and we felt good about it and it was fine. We typically don't do that, but I'm also not going to stand on major ceremony and make sure that I'm not going to be the one to have to manage that. That's really Liz's job. And I said, hey, maybe we need to figure out a different way just to make sure that if they are dropping off a check, that we've gotten it and all that. But I think that the empowering of her to be able to handle things like that is really good. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to say, hey, whoa, I don't want this to happen unless we both agree on it or, whatever. So my 3 important takeaways on this that I want to make sure and convey to you is this member of the team needs a lot of autonomy. Okay, sometimes they can cut a few corners, like I just said, and even though it's rarely about outcome with it, because again, this is somebody that has really good sense, really good critical thinking skills, but they need to have some empowering of that, and they need to be motivated in ways that work for them. And it's not always money, believe it or not. I mean, that's certainly a very powerful motivator, but sometimes it's not. And with Liz, it for sure has been autonomy and the freedom to be able to develop her role and her job the way she sees fit. And I say that to her all the time. And I believe that. It's like, look, if this is a part of your job that's becoming a drudge and you want to work on something else, absolutely let me know. We can hire somebody to do this or that or whatever. And then sometimes I have to gently nudge her to be able to get her to give up something like doing all the invoices, which I think she's still doing, right, Liz? But I'm thinking, she doesn't need to be doing that. I'm paying her too much to be doing the invoicing, but she likes that control over it,
It's hard to break those type of habits.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you want to make sure it gets done right. And you know instinctively when to send the invoice to the client and that sort of thing. And, you understand the cadence of the relationship and what's going on. So some things just can't be completely automated. But you know what? I say, Liz is a grown adult. And if she says that she can manage that with the other things that she's supposed to manage and do, then I have to let her, handle that and be prepared to give up some of that when she's ready to do that. And I think you also have to think about paying this person a good sum. You really do it. It's worth every single penny if you find the right person to mesh with you and your team. And let me say this, when I hired Liz 8 years ago, she started like here because she was only going to be here couple of years and blah, blah, blah. And now 8 years later, here we are. But I will tell you that when we started making this transition and I realized like, oh my God, this is this awesome person and we mesh so well and all of that, I never would have thought 5 years before that I would be able to afford that. I really wouldn't have. And that is the truth. And I think sometimes it's like buying a new purse or something. You fill it up, right? Or you think I'm gonna get this purse and I'm just I'm gonna have it as a bag and I'm not gonna fill it up, but actually you do fill it up. And I think that keeps people from hiring a lot of times in general. And then they're so frustrated with everything they're doing that they get frustrated with whoever they hire. And it's just, I think designers wait too long overall. A lot of small businesses wait too long to actually hire anybody, and then you end up being in a really bad place where you're just in total entropy and that sort of thing. And you can't train people up the ladder. So if you have somebody now that has some of these characteristics, once you read the book and listen to the podcast, then think about that, because that's exactly what we did with Liz. But I will say that she had a lot of self-motivating.
I like to figure things out, and that definitely, I think that Cheryl is a very capable person and obviously is very, savvy in her role in general. But I think that being able to learn something new and to find a way that I could kind of weasel my way in and be of value was something that was important to me. I think that we talk about this a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more about it a little later, but when it comes to kind of the hiring dynamics, we're always thinking to ourselves, like, what is the skill set or the facet of a personality that we're not thinking of that could be great for this type of a role? Or what do we need this person to be able to do? And sometimes it isn't the obvious. I think that is, I'm sure when Cheryl first met me wearing a scarf in October in Pensacola in TJ Maxx, she probably was thinking to herself,
that was my story to tell. That was my story. I wanted to tell how I had met you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
ad.
go. Go ahead.
That's all right. Okay, so I met Liz from Craigslist ad. Okay, so that is, I don't know that people do that anymore, but that's what it was. And I was on my way to London for this big event, design event. And I also had this HDTV pilot I was hired to style and finish up. Okay, so I had to get that done. And they, of course, with any TV thing, it always gets delayed. And here I am going to London and, I was going to be gone for 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. So I was off to Home Goods to shop for, some little accessories and things like that to spice it up. And I had to do double duty. So I asked Liz, not only Liz, but actually another gal too, that didn't end up making the cut long term, if they wanted to tag along and interview as we shopped and talked. Okay, now I'm not actually recommending this as a great way to interview people, but that is the truth. And it was not conventional at all, but I ended up hiring both. And this was not for an integrator role at the time. It was just an assistant to help downstairs with retail, but that did not last long. The famous story is that once I knew really that Liz was like this really incredible person was when she was drawing, when I said to her, really basically to give her something to do, was like, I need a cactus. Okay, we're in Pensacola, Florida, North Florida, all right? There's not a lot of cactuses around here, cacti. And I said, I need a cactus, and I didn't say anything about what kind or whatever. I said, need a cactus, it needs to be big, and it needs to be in the corner for Murphy job, and this is what we need to do. And so then she draws me all these different cactuses. At the time, we had notes at the end of the day that everybody sent to me to, kind of like recap of the day, anything important, reminding me about stuff I need to do and all that. And she sent me all these pictures of the cactus, these drawings. And I thought that for some reason that just really, I thought, I gave her this problem that just said, hey, go find a cactus. Go away, kid. Leave me alone here for a minute. Let me think. And she came back with all this stuff. And I just, for some reason, that just really imprinted on me. And I knew that she was my gal there, So let's talk about a little bit more about the specific specific characteristics of Integrator. We've talked a little bit about it, but I want to make sure and hit some of these so you really know, they're resilient, adaptable, self-managing, high achiever. When goals are set, goals are great. You give Liz a goal. Liz, we need to bill X amount of money in project management, in the next 6 months. Okay. Like, she loves that goals, and I'm the same way with that too. They can filter the visionary ideas. Sometimes she tries to squish my parade, but not in a way that is not for the best part of it. And she usually comes around if I can defend my thesis, then she will come around and say, yeah, okay, maybe it's a good idea. Good problem solvers, continuous learner, accepts criticism and grows from it. That's a really big one. And they kind of they execute the vision, and they get a lot of pleasure out of it, I think, too. Wouldn't you say, Liz? You can speak to this more really than I can.
No, absolutely. I think that, again, part of this is growing professionally, but I can remember, early on, having conversations where, I'd feel deflated or just like, I don't know what I'm doing or why am I doing this? But I think that there was always something about feeling this sort of background motivation to figure it out, to work through it, to learn about it, and to understand that the only way to kind of get over the hill is to really do the hard work and to get yourself there. When it came to, I can remember this was, I guess 4-5 years ago, maybe, we changed over our whole project management system. And it was like a dagger to my heart when Cheryl told me this. This was like right before Christmas and the holidays and end of year. And it's like, we had a bunch of stuff going on. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me right now. And I
was
think
so
that
excited.
Probably
I was so excited about it. Like, oh my gosh, I've got the greatest idea. This is what we're going to do. And I'm like, oh, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, that kind of thing. And then Liz is the big wet blanket.
I just I couldn't handle it. I felt very unsettled by it. I was concerned. Tech is not my thing. So I felt very challenged by the fact that, like, I'm going to have to try to figure out how to do my job now through this whole new program. And it took me a solid, probably 2.5, 3 months to even get to a point where I could operate without complaining about it, which I'm not proud of to say that it took me that long, but I always think
there
of that
were days
when
I wanted to strangle her. And I'm looking at her going, Liz, it's not that much different than Trello, okay? We can do this. You can do it. You can learn this new thing. But, she was able to
it took me time.
Master it. Yeah.
But it
takes time for anybody.
Yeah. And I look at that now as an example to myself when I feel uncertain about an idea, or I feel like, this feels like it's divergent from what we should be doing or whatever. I have to remind myself that, first of all, you don't know everything. And second of all, there have been very few times when Cheryl hasn't either researched the crap out of something before she presents it to all of us, or doesn't have some sort of good rationale for wanting to at least explore a new idea. And those are things that are hard for me because I operate so much day to day in getting things done, getting clients situated, getting subs sorted out. She has a little bit more of that brain space to be able to look ahead and to think about those things. And I struggle with that. So I do always look at that as something that I have to be more open to be able to be better, to be able to really rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and you've done a great job with that too. And I think that we both learned in our roles. And so you might be asking yourself right now, well, so how do I know if I'm a visionary, integrator, or whatever? So the visionary, we've talked a lot about the integrator, but visionaries are very much have 1 million ideas a week. I check that box really well. They drive the bigger deals. They're the primary sales front person, although Liz does quite a bit of that herself, and she's a phenomenal designer as well. So it's not that we all wear a lot of hats, that's for sure. I have the passion for the highs and lows, a little bit more. I'm a little bit up and down with things like that, but have that passion there. I would consider, a visionary is really the rainmaker. They're establishing the core values and the vision for the firm, the brand consistency, new product instigator. So when I'm looking at these leads that we're getting, for example, and I'm saying, a lot of these leads are not fitting into what we typically sells full service design, but yet we're getting leads every day, and I'm a salesperson at heart, so I'm like, wait, what? We need to be able to think about how to address this. So Liz, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we can develop a product that actually will work for these leads so that we don't have to turn them away. So that's the kind of thing that I'm going to be doing more so. And then of course the day-to-day business, but we'll talk about our specific roles. That's just in general what people do. So getting into that I'm the creative director, I'm the head marketing boss lady, I'm the developer of ideas, the rainmaker, I manage the business end. I focus on being the overall big problem solver. Liz deals with a minutia of problems every single day that I, thank the good Lord, do not even know about. And that is a beautiful thing, y'all. That is a beautiful thing. But I'm dealing with the bigger problems, things that are coming up, and I don't know, taxes, whatever, that kind of stuff. Day to day, I work on
kind of see, I feel like a lot of times you kind of will call to my attention, hold on a minute, this process is not working the way you think it is, or this is not as clean as we need it to be.
Because you're head down,
super helpful.
Yeah. Right, and you're head down. And so I'm seeing it from a little bit of a global point of view. So this is all about, we're talking now about, how we make it work and how we do that. And so I'm, day to day, I work on the high level design end. So I'm the creative director in that regard. And of course, I do all the business coaching, even though Liz is there with me on that too. I'm still the primary driver of that. I go on most initial consultations, like I talked in the first episode about, because I love them so much. I love doing the Cheryl show. And, but I don't get involved after the initial consult until I get what I call my go folder. And this is the greatest place to be if you have a team or you aspire to have a team. It has all the info in it I need to review the project and work on schematics, because I'm going to do the majority of the schematics in my firm. That's just one of my sweet spots, so I'm going to do that. But once I do that initial consultation and Liz and I have agreed on a fee, we've sent out the scope of work, and boom, we're done with that. I don't touch that job again until after all the onboarding is done, the questionnaire is done, the blah, blah, blah. I don't touch it again, really, until I get the go folder, and then we're going to have a design direction meeting. So our process is very specific about this, and I really like it. I think that that the truth is none of this would be able to be done, no matter how amazing Liz may be, without a lot of very specific processes and the roles being very outlined so carefully. And I think that sometimes this is hard for designers. This is what I see in coaching, to really sit down and delineate those roles. And I will tell you that when you hire somebody new, those roles may change a little bit, because that person may have specific skills that the previous person didn't have. So it does have to be sort of a little bit of a malleable type of thing, but it's really important for people to understand what they're responsible to do. And Liz, you can talk about some of the things that you do. But we only have a half-hour show, just so you know.
I know, right. So typically I handle a lot of our new lead integration. So as soon as someone gets in touch and wants to talk to us about hiring us for a type of service, usually I take the lead on that and then move them in through to the initial consultation meeting setup, so getting them booked and invoiced and all that business. Attending new consults with Cheryl. I do this, and actually Libby does a lot of this now because I'm, remote in a good capacity. I do miss them, but I love that dynamic. A lot of subcontractor communications, and this is everything from phone calls to emails, really kind of keeping people on track, reminding them what they said they were going to do, trying to make sure they have what they need to get their job done, and getting a lot of our bidding situated. And being able to really kind of work through with clients to keep them updated, to facilitate sales with them, to make sure that we're moving a project forward, but also finding opportunity to sell, kind of the add-ons to them as we're wrapping up a job.
I want to make sure that people know that this is not just an admin type of role at all. Liz is our project manager. Again, I'm a small company, so, we have, 7 or 8 of us. I guess we're down a person right now.
Hats.
Yeah, you wear a lot of hats, but they're very well-defined hats. So, and what the beautiful thing about it is that I'm not having to worry about the day-to-day. So it allows me to focus on the bigger picture, and I know when, because of our processes, exactly when I need to pop back in and I need to go, okay, we need to have a design direction about this, or, we need to have this meeting, or whatever, all of those kinds of things. So it is really important to realize that that this is not just, depending on the person, of course, that you have, but this is not just an admin role. This is definitely, Liz is very involved in the sales end of it and, working with clients and trying to do those add-on, sales and helping facilitate some of those. And there's some smaller jobs that she handles completely 100%, on her own with just maybe some help with the staff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and making sure that our staff in general is paying attention and doing what they should be for the most part.
And then I can't not say also that you're the head buckle baker, and this is, people, what the heck is a buckle? Well, a buckle is a strudel type pastry, and that Liz likes to make for subs, because we're not above bribing. During COVID, we learned how to bribe subs in a really, in a very good way. And just to pop in a little bit and tell you about the rest of the team, because you may be wondering about that, we have Miranda, who handles the office management, vendor relationships, and our trade program. And she's pretty much like the go-to person for things going on in the office. Libby is another part of the management team and part of the design team, and she's forefront on the latest, greatest, is one of our lead designers. So she handles the final design renderings, putting it all together, and all of that. And a lot of times her and Liz are getting together on that before it even comes to me. So it just depends on the job. I will identify. And I identify, there's some clients that we've had for a long time that I'm going to be involved super intently right from the beginning. And then there's some that I'm getting involved at a different level. And we just decide all that together. And then Libby also is the guru of our candle studio. Gabrielle is super creative and handles the marketing, showroom design, and also the retail design clients too, which has really been something that we've been working towards in our retail. Jen is really more of our expediter, I guess, and head of the CAD department. So she does all the as-built and the measures and things like that. She does purchasing. She works on a lot of kitchens and bath sourcing, and she's been with us for a long time, and it's a really key asset to our team. And it's very even keel. Jen's very even keel. Some of us are in a little more up and down and kind of, when Liz is here, she's running up the stairs and, hey, Liz is here, and that kind of thing. And Jen's really good because she keeps that equilibrium going on. And then we have Steph too, and she is amazing as well and worked with us 10 or 11 years ago. And then she started having babies and moved with her husband, blah, blah, blah. So now she's remote, but she handles, whatever needs to be done, but a lot of special projects. She handles the design paradigm. She keeps me in line. She's not afraid to argue with me either, like Liz. And then Liz is just the overseer of all of the above and also a lead designer, depending on the project. Is there anything else that I've left out, Liz, that you want to talk? Because I know that they care more about your role and hearing about that than they do really, anything that, I have to say about the visionary.
No, I mean, I think that, from a broader perspective, I try to perceive it as just kind of making sure that things are moving, making sure, that there are things that everyone has that they can be contributing to how they grow professionally, that we have good momentum on our client projects, that everyone is feeling like they're getting to kind of get their hands dirty. And this is, certainly more so in the last year. I've kind of been forced to do this, but it's also been really good for me to, like Cheryl said, to delegate. And to kind of keep tabs too on Cheryl and be sure that the things that she's wanting to get done and the ways that we need to be catering to new leads, that we're doing that. I mean, it really has changed over the years for sure, but I think that what I enjoy so much about my role is that it's multifaceted and it really does allow me to see things from a different perspective and to really understand better what the company needs to kind of keep things moving along so I can be a part of that in whatever facet it needs to be depending on the day.
Right. So what's one thing that drives you crazy about me as a visionary? And what's one thing you love about it? Keep it clean.
Well, I think the thing that challenges me the most, and again, this is something that I think from a professional perspective has been a huge source of growth for me as well. So it really is kind of the challenge and the benefit, but it is just the amazing space that exists in her brain for new ideas and wanting to refine things and feeling the capacity that we are capable of that. I mean, I think sometimes I get so bogged down in what it is that I need to be able to accomplish that I just think to myself, how can she not look at her plate and think okay, I'm full up here. I've got enough spaghetti and meatballs to deal with for the whole week. But being able to really kind of look at things and slow down. I mean, that really is another big part of it for me, because a lot of times when she gets these ideas or she has these new things she wants to pursue or to research, I have to say to myself, okay, the best thing for this dynamic right now is going to be for me to carve out 2 hours. I'm going to tell her we're going to set a meeting. We're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out what it is that she wants to do, and then figure out from there how it needs to, be implemented, or what more research we have to do, or whatever. It helps me get a better understanding of really how serious she is about some of these things, but also it settles me a little bit to understanding that day to day, we are very fortunate to be very, very busy, but we don't know what 6 months from now or a year from now is going to look like. And I think part of what's been so valuable about her contribution in our local area and just to our clients in general over the years has been that dynamic sensibility to be able to grow the business and to be able to cater to people's needs in a lot of different ways. So I know and have seen the proof of that in the pudding. We have clients who we've been with for 10, 15 years easily who keep coming back for more. So as much as it is difficult and challenging, it for sure is a part of the dynamic that I have to value as well.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's my turn. Thank you for all that. That was really nice.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm going to have to transcribe that so I can remember and remind you of it when I'm driving you crazy. So what's one thing that Liz does that makes me bite my fingernails? There's not really very much, but I think I alluded to it earlier, is that sometimes she will ask for forgiveness instead of asking for permission. But it's been 8 years of her understanding like where those boundaries are, and it doesn't keep me from saying, no matter how amazing she is, I'm still going to say, Liz, no, we shouldn't have done that. That's not the way we need to handle that, or do this or whatever. But she knows. It's just, I think sometimes she wants to get it done, right? And so that's it. But it's impossible to me to say just one thing she does that amazes me, because there's so much of it. But probably that she puts up with me, and that she puts up with the ups and downs of a visionary, because I think that a lot of us in this role, in my role, are a little bit cray-cray, and we have a lot of ideas, and we're a handful. We're like herding cats sometimes it's just one person, and we're all herding cats. And I think that sometimes, there's lots of little cats running around my brain, looking for different things and that sort of thing. So, you might think is this me? Let me give you some ideas. Are you facing burnout? You have a lack of control over the business. The business is controlling you. You're watching the P&L and it's not growing at the rate you expect it to. Because I will tell you for sure, 8 years ago, we started making more money. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Don't ask for a raise or anything like that, Liz, now, just because I'm giving you a big head. But for sure, I mean, we've grown every year after year, even when we had the first recession and all that, 2008, 2009, we weathered that okay, because I've always been relatively diversified. But I will tell you that for sure, because I've had somebody in that boat with me, and that has been an amazing opportunity. And I think too, you're ready. You have to have the money to afford hire this integral person. You really do. You have to be ready mentally. You have to be ready to give up some control. And that is not easy to do. You're ready to slow down maybe a bit. Okay, maybe you're ready to slow down a little bit. I know that's a big motivator for me. Not that I have slowed down, but maybe one day. And you're ready to focus on another aspect of the business. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to pursue coaching while we still have a going firm and all that, because I feel like I have a lot to say and a lot to share about the business end and the marketing end. So I really wanted to be able to do that. And Liz has allowed me to be able to do that and still do my day job, so to speak. I think the tension is normal between this kind of, this sort of situation. Disagreement's normal. It's not a sign of disrespect, but rather dealing with it and moving through, a sign of great respect for each other and the roles when you move through this. So just understand that, so that if you have somebody that's an integrator now, or you're thinking about somebody, but you're like, oh my God, I might kill them. Well, you might. You might on any given day, want to throttle each other, but integrators are unicorns. I'd say that we're not going to have a lot of time to go in where you can find them and that sort of thing. I don't know, Liz, do you have any ideas on that? Like just a minute before we get into our damn good truth?
Yes, I think the biggest thing with hiring is you really have to be open-minded. I think that you never know. I mean, even I look at it now and I think to myself, I don't know how I got here, because it certainly wasn't what I would have ever anticipated for myself. But you have to be open and to give people the opportunity to try to work their way in, to not assume just because they don't have a certain background or because they didn't go to school for something that they don't have capacity to offer something valuable to your company. It may not be what you expect.
And
but
it may not be traditional design, a traditional design background either. I mean, the best people I've ever hired over 23 years have not actually had a strong background in design. So let's get to the damn good truth of number 4, okay? And you really need to listen to this. The hardest thing I have ever done in my business is learning to be okay not driving the bus. And I think sometimes Liz would like for me to stop using that phrase. But the hardest thing I have ever done in my business is learning to be okay not driving the bus. I'm going to repeat that again because it's really super important for everybody to understand. The best thing I have ever done for my business is learning to be okay not driving the bus. And that is the honest to God truth. And if you had asked me 15 years ago, if I would have said that, I would have said no. It's not easy. It takes work and understanding your own limitations and strengths, but it's essential if you want to grow, retain a team, and not wear all the hats. Did I mention it's not easy? But if I can do it, so can you. You just have to find those right people, and your hiring is a capital investment in your business. That's the way I look at it. It really is. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you come back next time. Join our free Facebook group, Small Business Think Big, if you would like. If you would like more information about the design paradigm, there will be information in the notes. And if you like what you hear, always drop us a review, a message, anything at all, so we know that you are listening. Thank you.
Bye.
Until next time, stay bold, stay inspired, and keep embracing your bag girl spirit. If you've enjoyed today's show, head over to join the community at damngooddesigner.com to continue the conversation and sign up for our newsletter.